Do you ever feel like in life you are too empathetic? Or has that been said to you that you are very sensitive, or do you identify with being an empath? Today's video is inspired by one of you guys who wrote this exactly the same question in the comments. How do I lose empathy? To help you understand empathy and help you manage this quality about yourself more effectively. So my name is Sarah Edwards and I worked for the Ministry of Justice for 10 years and I was a probation officer for 6 of those years. And I share videos so you can see exactly what this profession is like, so you are fully informed before you actually get into this. I'm also an online tutor and coach, so I coach graduates, psychology and criminology graduates in my program Master Psychology and Criminology, the Essay Skills course. And I also have a program for those of you who want to get on the trainee probation officer scheme. So all the links are down below. Follow me on Instagram, Edwards Tutoring, and make sure you subscribe, hit that notification. So firstly, I just compiled a couple of qualities of an empath. I would say I have a lot of these qualities. I am quite an empathetic person, and probably if you are interested in psychology jobs, criminology jobs, or wanting to be a probation officer, you probably naturally have these tendencies, because that's why we go into these kind of jobs. That's why we're not going down the route of banking and finance, you know. Empaths tend to either avoid or really don't like conflict, and this kind of has a tie-up with wanting to please people, wanting to be seen as kind, as nice, as friendly. But it can be challenging because as a probation officer, you will be faced with conflict. But this role will definitely help you improve on those skills. And as you go through the trainee scheme, you will develop skills to be able to help you with that particular area. Again, another common one, and one that I see in myself, one that I see with my colleagues as well, is you are a natural giver. So you give too much, you know, you give all of your energy to people, you give all of your energy to things, and this can leave you feeling quite drained because you want to do the best for that person. If somebody comes to you, you are the person that they seek out because you are a good listener. So if they want to talk, they will come and talk to you. So if you are a giver, you can end up feeling quite drained from this. And I can give you quite a few scenarios from when I've been a probation officer and you think, you really want to help that person, you see that person's potential, or you see what a hard life they've gone through, or you might see some similarities of you in them or a family member in them, especially if you've got friends or family that have been in a similar position. I know just through some of the people that I've spoke with in probation, we are probably all have a connection to someone who's been in prison or experienced prison or the criminal justice system. Again, one of the reasons why people like us go into these jobs, because we're interested to find out more and to help. It can leave you questioning your decisions. So when you apply to be a probation officer, one of the key attributes that they are looking for is that you can make effective decisions. Now, if you are trying to make an effective decisions, but you're very empathetic and you really feel that you want to save someone and help someone, that can be quite a challenging thing to manage. So I'm going to give you some tips for how to move forward from that. But first I want to acknowledge that being empathetic is not something you want to lose. You just want to manage it better so that you do not feel so drained from the job. And if you're watching this and you're thinking, well, maybe I'm not empathetic enough, or maybe I need to increase this skill, I'm going to go through like 4 key things. So the first thing is you really want to put yourself in the other person's shoes. When someone has been to prison or they've been through the criminal justice system, they have been through so much already before they get to you and are sitting in front of you and are going to work with you. So you really have to, it's not that you have had to been through that situation yourself, but imagine, wow, what would it be like if I was in that situation? If I had to live that life they did, go into prison or go through the criminal justice system. Just take a minute to actually put yourself in their shoes. And you may have to keep checking in with yourself about this as you are a probation officer and you meet different kinds of people, you have different sessions with people. You might want to check in and say, well, you know what, imagine if I was in that person's shoes and they were being deported and being left from their family. And some of you might be thinking, well, they shouldn't have committed the crime, they need to do the time. Fair enough, but you are probably not the people that actually are going to be getting through to this kind of job, because they need people to be able to put yourself in their shoes. And again, you need to keep checking in with yourself, because to show empathy, you need to step out of that judgment zone and actually listen. And it can be very, very hard to judge someone. You might judge them based on what stereotypes you have, what bias you have. You know, I'm a mum. It may be very easy for me to stereotype what is expected of other mums to be like. Or if you're a male probation officer going into this, you might stereotype, well, I was able to go to uni and get out of the hood. Why can't this person? So you have to consistently check your judgment, which takes a lot of self-reflection, which you don't always have time for in probation, but I will go into that a little bit later. Another key feature of showing empathy is recognizing that you might have felt that emotion before. So you don't have to have gone through that same situation. So maybe going into prison, quite lonely, it's quite isolating. When has there been a time where you have experienced loneliness or isolation, where you felt you haven't fitted in, or where you felt that you've been distant from family and friends? So you don't have had to have been through that same situation, but really think about where you have felt that same emotion too. And then the last thing is being able to communicate and recognize that you have also felt that emotion, or recognize that you are feeling uncomfortable. So say, and you will do this a lot on the trainee scheme because you have a lot of reflective practice and space for this. I would say you don't really have this space when you are a probation officer, but you want to be able to communicate and say, actually, you know what, I am feeling quite uncomfortable with this. I'm feeling like I've been in a similar situation before, or I've experienced this. And you can communicate that with the person who's on probation. It will really, really help them feel more connected to you. So I've gone through characteristics of someone who's an empath. I've addressed the question of how do you lose empathy, and the answer is you don't want to lose it. You want to be able to manage it better. So here's some ways to manage it better. I've also gone through how to actually gain empathy. So to manage it better, which you probably heard from a couple of things I said, you really want to have that reflective space to reflect on when things are feeling uncomfortable for you, when you feel, so say for example, if I'm working with someone and I see a lot of similarities with them, I see, okay, it's a mixed race girl, so same identity, we've come from a similar background, she's also a mum, you know, she's got young kids, I'm going to feel a lot of similarities there, and I need that space to say, actually, in my decision making, am I letting that feed into my decision making? Because you have to be very, very impartial. If that person has committed another offence and you need to send them back to prison, you can't let your empathetic side or your judgments or your connection with that person blur the lines between what action you need to take. And that, I think, is a very, very difficult thing as a probation officer. But to help as much as possible, the thing that helped me is in my training, we got a lot of space for that reflection. New trainees, if you're watching this, let me know if you still have that space for reflection. And that means talking through with the other person, oh, actually, I've just had this appointment and I'm feeling this, these feelings are coming up, I'm recognizing that. That means that you are self-aware, and that is what we want. We want self-aware people. You also want to be able to have that space to grow and learn from that. So think, okay, well, how can I do that differently? So as a trainee probation officer, you may be having that space. Maybe if you're newly qualified or you're watching this as a qualified officer, in supervision, which is your meetings with your manager, it's all process focused. It's focused on how we managing your workload, and tell me where your cases are at, and it's all system focused, results focused. It's not so much focused on that reflective side. So what I would do is take up the counselling that is available with probation, have a phone counselling service, and use this as your space for reflection. Even do it during your work hours, because when I was a probation officer, I was very lucky that we actually had psychologists come into one of the offices, or we could go there, and then they took that away. Anyway, I'm rambling now. What I'm saying is use the counselling services, or if you have group psychologists, group psychology training in your office still, use that to just reflect and give yourself that space, because you want to keep that empathetic side. You don't want to feel more drained, and you don't want to err in that side of being judgmental in your approach and ways when you're working with real people with complex issues. And the last thing is recognize that you can't do everything for someone. You want to empower that person. You want to foster motivation in that person. Remember, they are there because they have to be, not because they want to be, because they've been in prison or the court has ordered them to do something. So if you are then doing everything for them, there's lots of psychology research out there in terms of intrinsic motivation. People are more motivated to change if the reason they're doing it is for themselves, not because of a certain reward or because somebody's told them to. I'll give you an example. I've worked with someone who really wanted to go on this railways course so he could gain a qualification, so he could get a better job. I never at one point said, you need to do this particular course because you've been to prison or it will help you get off probation early. He had figured out from his experience of being in prison multiple times, coming out, not having a job, going back to drug dealing, going back to whatever, his criminal lifestyle, that actually that wasn't working out for him. So during that time, he has figured out, well, I need to get myself a proper career. There is this opportunity available. I've seen other people on it. They're earning good money. It's something that I could do. I'm going to go and figure out some information so I can go and do this. And you can then support them with that. By doing everything for them, you're not actually empowering that person, and the result is probably going to be they're not going to follow through with it. It's going to fail, and you are going to end up feeling like you are a failure as well. I hope you like this video. I'll say it again, make sure you subscribe, make sure you share, and go and look at my Instagram because I share more and more tips there on a regular basis.